up in the power vacuum and united his people under one benevolent iron fist. His father, the former king. The man who currently lay in the gigantic gold-gilt bed in the king's chamber, where death lurked among the wooden statues of warriors delivering killing strokes with their spears, behind framed artwork worth enough money to support an Njaza family for life, and in the folds of luxurious window treatments blocking the crumbling kingdom outside the window. I am no longer strong enough to rule, my son, his father had told him that afternoon. Those words had meant something else. I am dying. They had meant another something else, too, something only slightly less soul-crushing to Sanyu. You are now king. Sanyu had nodded his acquiescence, as he always did, not out of fear, like everyone else in the kingdom, but out of respect and love for the man who'd protected their people for 50 years, if not for the methods he used to do so. Then he had recounted the tale of Njaza's rescue from the brink of destruction and the resurrection of the kingdom, the same story his father had told him after tucking him into bed when he was a child. He'd spoken softly, but loud enough to be heard over the old man's labored breathing. And his voice hadn't broken once, even when he'd remembered what his father always said after the nightly retelling. He could feel his father's big, calloused palm resting on top of his head, even as he held the man's frail hand in his own. Could hear the words his father had thought were comforting, but had often kept him awake at night. And one day, you will save the kingdom as well, my son. I know Musoki is hard on you, but you do not understand what war is. You will be king one day, and you must be strong enough to protect Njaza's future. Are you strong enough? Sanyu's honest answer, the one he'd never dared to speak out loud, had been the same then as it was now. No. You will be a great king, his father had murmured weakly as Sanyu held his hand, his already watery eyes filling with tears as he looked up at him. Sanyu had never seen his father show this kind of emotion. And then the old man had gripped Sanyu's hand with an almost desperate strength, a reminder of why he'd gained the name the Iron Fist. The best. Strong. You have to be. Sanyu's heart had squeezed in his chest, mashed between the gears of grief and resentment. Even with the end drawing near, this was still all his father could speak of. I will be, he'd said. You do not have to worry, father. When the king's eyes fluttered shut, the wrinkles of his face settling into a peaceful smile, Sanyu had watched him, mind blank and an unfathomable grief coating him like a layer of petrol that wouldn't sink in. His father slept, and soon he wouldn't wake up, which was impossible. Sanyu couldn't imagine a world without his father's booming laugh and bravado and secret winks when everyone around him cowered in fear. He couldn't imagine a Njaza without the man who was the backbone of everything the kingdom was. Even if Sanyu technically possessed all of the necessary skills to take the throne, he was not a king in spirit. After a few hours of vigil had passed, he'd kissed his father's knuckles and said a prayer to Omakuumi, warrior god, and the first mighty king to rule Njaza so many generations before. Then he'd calmly walked to his room and begun to pack. Now, as he exited the passageway with his randomly selected belongings stuffed into his backpack, he forcibly blocked out all thoughts of his father. His soul sank into the peaty soil of the royal gardens, and his heart pounded against his rib cage, as if it also surged toward escape.